Well, hello there. Oh, that's such an intense start. I'm like, maybe I shouldn't start with just Anakin
It's pretty epic.
on Mustafar. Um, well, how goes it deep dive? Good to have you here, man. I always enjoy chatting with you for real.
Thanks. Yeah, it's fun. Glad to be back on.
Oh yeah. And dude, so many of your videos, especially like just the ones where you're analyzing like screen time and characters, and the one even that you did on Obi-Wan as a character, dude, there's some fantastic stuff that I've been seriously enjoying. So I'm gonna buckle in myself for this. This is gonna be a great chat. But what's up, Average? How's it going? Number one. Hello there. I totally dropped the ball. I was gonna get Grievous and clip him and put him in, but yeah, General Kenobi, Avella took care of it for us. Hello there. Yeah, first to say that. Hello. What's up, Jazzman? Oh, I didn't say what's up, Rerum. Sorry, I just read your thing. What's up, Jazzman? How's it going? Sandman, how's it going? We got Jazzman and Sandman. How's it going, everybody? We're talking about Obi-Wan today. I'm excited. We had a good conversation with some peeps last week, and we're just going to continue the fun today. Before we get started, I want to show you guys this, and we're going to just start diving deep into it. Those of you in the Discord may have seen this already. This is kind of what we're doing for the Nerdy Cantina on Fridays and Life and Lore on Mondays. We're saying no drama, rumors, or no news, drama, rumors, or sequels. And so here's a little clip that we'll play, and if it gets brought up, we'll bring it up. Oh yes. But hey, deep dive. Why don't we start just with a simple question I always like asking, kind of like, why Obi-Wan? Like, I know you had reached out and said it, but like, what got you excited for doing like an Obi-Wan life and lore deep dive?
Anakin and Obi-Wan are just two of the best characters, and I wasn't able to join the Anakin one, unfortunately, so I just had to join the Obi-Wan one.
Awesome, man. And let's even with this, what's your favorite Obi-Wan? Like across all Star Wars?
I had a poll on this recently, and everyone
Yeah.
said
Yeah.
Revenge of the Sith, but for me, it's still up in the air. Maybe actually Attack of the Clones, though. I'm a big fan of Detective Obi-Wan. That's always
Dude,
fun.
me too. That's my favorite. I remember that poll, and I'm like, I said Attack of the Clones. I'm like, oh dang. I'm like, I think Phantom Menace was below it. Other than that, like, I was like, yeah. And chat, I'm curious, for those of you guys watching, what's your favorite Obi-Wan out of, everything? But why don't we talk about Detective Obi-Wan in Attack of the Clones? I mean, I think it's just a great detective movie nonetheless, but for you seeing him as a detective, like what excites you? Because especially here, Attack of the Clones, kind of in our circle, I've noticed a lot of people really love that movie, but you don't hear
Mhm.
that a lot. And so, yeah, why Attack of the Clones, Obi-Wan?
I think the reason that Attack of the Clones Obi-Wan is so great is just that's like I think that's the closest you get in the movies to seeing like the typical daily life of a Jedi almost.
Mm,
Like it's not all Sith and Darth Sidious and Clone Wars and Empire. It's just him being a policeman of the galaxy, basically, which
yeah.
you don't get to see much in the movies. So it's a nice change of pace just to see some investigation and things like that, research.
Yeah, and I've often thought about this, how much had to go right in Attack of the Clones to really give us the Clone Wars and Revenge of the Sith. Um, but even how Obi-Wan like dives out of the window, and how he uh, ends up in the club, which is a lot of
Mhm.
like a good nod to A New Hope, and just the whole thing being led to Camino and then Geonosis and all of this. But I was also kind of contrasting it with the Phantom Menace in my mind, because I was thinking about when him and Qui-Gon are sent to the Trade Federation blockade for negotiations, and that leads them to Naboo, to the surface, and then to Otogunga, and then ends up going to Tatooine, and like how all of this stuff just kind of happened, and I feel like with Qui-Gon kind of being centric and Phantom Menace, you were seeing more of um, that kind of mystical force led, where, and
Mhm.
I think you're dead on. Like you're seeing like that. I don't want to say rigid Jedi, but you're seeing like the
By the
Jedi, like
books Jedi.
100%. And I love that. I even love that deleted scene in Attack of the Clones um, where you see him going through the archives more.
Mhm.
Um, it's just super cool. Um, what's up, Blue? How's it going, man? Hello there. Yeah, good to have you here, man. You love Obi. Yeah, I see the missus says her favorite is Attack of the Clones and Clone Wars. Oh
Yep.
yeah. And then I don't know, man. To me, or Obi-Wan to me is great in all of the scenes he is in. Yeah, so true. For real. And then Cooper, hello there. Yes. um do I remember this correctly? Were you talking about how you were just recently going through the Clone Wars animated series? Or was that
uh,
Rebels?
I did both of them actually for the first time. I actually never made it through all of them. So a few
Okay.
months ago, I went through and watched all of them for the first time. I made a video about the Clone Wars. I haven't made one about Rebels yet. There's
Awesome.
too much to talk about, but they were both really good.
Yeah, for real. And even an aside on Rebels, it is hard to like pin down, like, because we've thought about doing stuff on Rebels, but it's like, how do you do stuff properly on Rebels? Just there's so much to it, and even season by season, things can get deeper, and once you get into the world between worlds, that's a whole nother
Oh yeah.
whole nother slew of things. So what do you think about like Obi-Wan in the Clone Wars? Um, like kind of what are your general thoughts on him in that, maybe in contrast even to the prequels?
I feel like Obi-Wan in the Clone Wars overall, I think, was pretty great and very Obi-Wan. I almost feel like he was a little bit too jokey. Like he's more the Revenge of the Sith side, and I kind of wanted to see more of the like serious, strict Obi-Wan from Attack of the Clones.
Yeah. Yeah, it is so true. Like I just saw a YouTube video recently where it was like 7 minutes of Obi-Wan being sassy, and it was from the Clone Wars, and
Yeah.
it's just
Yep.
it, but yeah, it is, that is interesting that they lean pretty heavy into that. And there's even those moments where I'm like, I don't know if I would joke right then, like he's in this
Oh yeah,
precarious,
exactly.
dangerous situation, and he's like, maybe it just in his mind, he's like, he has the upper hand. Yeah, he is the king of sass. Ain't that the truth? Yeah. Um, yeah, and obviously the classic quote from Obi here: "The Force is what gives a Jedi his power. There's an energy field created by all living things. It surrounds us. It penetrates us. It binds the galaxy together."
Such
So
a
good,
wise man.
for real. And um, yeah, and we talked about this on the other Kenobi stream too. But when you get down to Ewan McGregor and you get to Alec Guinness, I think the two are just so perfect for portraying Obi-Wan.
Oh yeah, they flow really well together. Also, from End of Revenge of the Sith into A New Hope, like I don't know, I feel it was a very well done, smooth transition from them.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's up, Charlie? How's it going, man? Yeah, I can't do that Kenobi scream. I wish I could.
Oh, I've never
Yeah,
even tried. Probably even shouldn't.
I know. Maybe next time I'm driving by myself, I'll just give it a go. uh, but well, what about this? I know, and we're not doing. We said speculation is totally okay. Um, what is what's something that you're maybe looking forward to, or that you would like to see in the Kenobi series, or just in general, seeing that time fleshed out a little more?
Kenobi series, I definitely want it to have a lot of not downtime, but quieter daily lifetime on
Mm.
Tatooine. I feel would be cool to see. Like, it would be easy to have him doing a lot of epic missions and jumping around planets and doing things, but Star Wars doesn't have as much time as it would be good to for just like binary sunset kind of daily life moments. Those are always good.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Um, have you read or listened to that 2013 Kenobi book by chance?
No, I haven't. Have you?
It's yeah, I'm almost done with it. Going through it on Audible, and dude, it's really cool because there's a lot of that. I at first I was kind of confused because there's a good portion of it where Obi's like not really in it, and
Oh.
um essentially kind of the setting that they're making is how you see him in A New Hope, where it's like you've heard of him and he kind of like he comes in and then he's very prominent at the end, but it's this idea of the desert hermit, that comes in when there's trouble.
Hmm.
That's kind of the role he fits, and so even with some of the main characters, it's very much like a Western. Like there's this full life going on in Tatooine, and specifically in this community called Oasis outside of Anchorhead.
Hmm.
But um, yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff, especially when it gets into the the meditation scenes. There's these scenes where Obi-Wan is meditating and he'll be like holding Anakin's lightsaber and he'll be crying out to Qui-Gon and like seeing if he could do anything different. Or he'll be thinking about Sabine, or not Sabine, sorry. He'll be thinking about
Sabine.
Satine. Yeah, not Sabine. But yeah, he'll be thinking about Satine, and there's some pretty cool stuff in it.
Yeah, I think
Yeah, man.
exactly that would be perfectly what I would hope from the TV show.
Let me do this really quick. Blue, am I allowed on? Yeah, bro, you are. And I totally just sent you the wrong link. Let me he's like, that's the link to watch the YouTube. I literally sent him the link there for the wrong thing. Here you go, bro. Here you go. That should be the right one. That should be the right one, man. But yeah, there that would be really cool to see fleshed out, yeah, 100%. If we're thinking about episodes 1 to 3, maybe like kind of a theorizing, do you think there are things that Obi-Wan could have done differently with Anakin to maybe have prevented his fall to the dark side, or prolonged it? Do you think that could have happened at all?
I don't know about stopping it. Probably not stopping it. I think he could have prolonged it, maybe if he would push back at the council a little more to stand by Anakin, like when he, goes on his mission to fight Grievous alone and just kind of leaves Anakin, even though he knows he's in a bad position.
Mm,
That's not great. If he could have pushed back on that or took Anakin with him or something like that, probably. Just little things like that, I suppose.
yeah, and I've spent a lot of time thinking about that. It's funny that when we start talking about Star Wars, it's like how much time I'll spend thinking about it and be like, man, is that it's just amazing. But yeah, I've thought that same thing. It's like I don't think, and we've talked about this in other places too. I don't know if Obi-Wan ever could have stopped that. I think the dynamic duo, the combo of the two of them together just creates just creates the Anakin that we see and know. I don't think there's any way around that for sure.
Yeah, Obi-Wan really wasn't ready to. Like when he got Anakin, it was a surprise when Obi-Wan could barely take care of himself and he was still basically just a young adult who didn't know what he's doing yet. So that's hard.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, the man's here, Blue.
Hello
How's it
there.
going, man?
I'm good, brother. How are
General
you?
Man,
Kenobi.
Doing well. What time is it for you right
General
now?
deep dive. Just past 2 a.m.,
Yeah,
bro.
Oh
that's
wow.
crazy. Always
It's
good to have you here, man. I know you love Kenobi. And why don't we just keep piggybacking off what Deep Dive was saying? I think that's a good point about Kenobi being young and not ready for Anakin. Because especially with the events of the Phantom Menace, he was really thrust forth into taking Anakin on. Um, yeah. So, what are your thoughts on that, Blue?
Well, he called him pathetic. The first thing he ever said about
Yes,
Anakin, another
that's true.
pathetic life form.
Yeah.
And the only reason he trained him in the first place was because he promised Qui-Gon. He wasn't
Yeah.
ready. He didn't even had his trial yet to become a
He didn't
Jedi
even
Knight.
want to, particularly.
No, the only reason
Mhm.
he passed and got made a knight was because he killed Maul.
Mhm.
So I completely agree. No, he was too young, too arrogant, but he did the best he could.
Yeah. I think that's a good point. And even with our parents, I feel like when we start reflecting on parents, that's maybe a theme you hear a lot. So they did the best they could with what they had. I know there's exceptions to that, but I feel like with the Jedi Council and with Obi-Wan filling that father, brother, mentor, master role with Anakin, it's like he was doing the best that he could, man, for sure.
100% agree. Because yeah, I agree. He's more his big brother, not the father.
Yeah, absolutely. And then it just leads to the heartbreak and the high ground scene on
Oh
Mustafar. That
no,
that
I
that
just finished
always
that.
that always gets me. Um, uh, you were my brother, Anakin, and I just think about.
I loved you.
I know. It messes us up, man,
I've
for
just
sure.
finished Revenge of the Sith
Oh
under a
yeah,
day. Yeah, and I love the alternative ending. It's so good.
yeah. So what are some things in that novel about Obi-Wan specifically that you like in contrast to the movie?
No, I was talking about the video game. I have never read the
Oh,
novel.
okay.
Novel's good though.
I want to read the novel.
Yeah, dude, that video, you just finished that. Didn't you just start that game?
Yeah, I finished it in under a day.
That, that game is so hard.
Go, I'll send you my Twitch one where I fight Dooku.
Okay.
I used to play that a lot though when I was younger
Okay. Did you do
Oh.
it
because
first
of
time?
Obi-Wan.
How did you beat how wait, how long did it take you to beat Mace? That's what I got to know.
One fight.
Wow.
I defeated everyone in one fight. The first time I died was the clone tank on Utapau. That stupid turret got me.
Wow.
Jeez.
That's crazy. Man, when I was playing the game, I kind of gave up a little bit. I was like, this is way too hard for me. It's the
Yeah.
stuff where it's like I remember playing it as a kid, and then I'm like, I don't know how many hours I must have spent playing these games. It'll be like Ocarina of Time, and these ones I'll come back to. I'm like, how did I play this as a kid? This is insane.
Yeah, I thought the same. I was like, I have not seen another lightsaber game like this. Like Force Unleashed, it was okay for lightsaber fighting, but it's more the Force powers. And Fallen Order was really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Forced Unleash is, to me, it's more kind of like a hack and slash, really high octane, a lot
With
of
the
action.
dark side.
Yes. Well, this would be cool. This is something that I actually wanted to bring up and to kind of watch together and discuss. I'm thinking we'll be all right. It's from Collider, but this is when Sam Witwer talks about Darth Maul and Kenobi from Rebels. Have you guys seen that interview?
I don't think
No.
so.
I've seen
Oh.
his backstage stuff where you see him like recording the voice lines for Maul. That was amazing.
Okay. Cool. Well, this is pretty fantastic in my opinion. Yeah, we can go through this and see how it's going. I don't think there's anything that's like necessarily copyrighted, but we shall see. But yeah, this is something because Sam Witwer obviously uh voices Maul among many other things in the Star Wars universe, but I think this is a really cool conversation here. So let's check this out. We can just kind of pause it and talk about it at various points as well.
Actually, in Rebels, is some of my favorite Darth Maul stuff. Because like you really feel that kind of conflict inside Ezra of having Kanan and Maul kind of tugging at him. So and obviously Twin Sons for me is one of the coolest episodes. When you were doing that,
very
did you
poetic.
were you working off somebody, or were you just rolling pretty much by yourself?
Delicate, so that part wasn't difficult.
Yeah.
Imagine that character. He was really originally there just to mark the lines and read off of, and he wasn't necessarily going to get that part. There were a lot of ideas, and there was a possibility of some auditions and stuff like that. And the moment he just started talking, everyone looked at each other and were like, and there was also argument of like, should it be more of a you and Obi-Wan? Should it be Alec Guinness? And so he showed up just kindly to read off me.
And
then
really?
and then
so that's how he got in there.
yeah, and then he read it so well. I remember looking at Dave. And then Steven sent and did his performance, and then he left going, oh, okay, nice, see you guys. All very humble. And he leaves, and then I go over to Dave. I'm like, so that's the guy, right? Like, we're just going to use that. You just recorded it. It's done. You finished it. We're done. And we had this, I remember having a talk with him, and I'm like, you know what? I'm trying to think if I should even say a few things, because there's some provocative things that I could. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to get in trouble. But
do it.
But there was definitely. I remember saying to him, I'm like, I think at this point we know it has to be the Alec Guinness character. I think also timeline wise it's more appropriate, but but Steven Stanton just did it. And Dave was like, yeah, it's better for the story, right? I'm like, yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's like I'm a big fan of highly elaborate lightsaber fights. And in the Clone Wars, there's great scenes between Maul, his brother, and the Emperor having massive lightsaber fights. But the elegance of the lightsaber fight in the Twin Sons episode was completely satisfying.
There's what's great about it is every little shot, every little setup moment is a chess piece move by even Obi-Wan going to the different ready positions. The thing that I've been saying for years is it's almost like when you bump into the high school bully, but you're 30 now, but you bump into the high school bully, you suddenly become 14 again, and you become petty and petulant and angry, and you're not, what I mean? Like it's unresolved stuff, and you haven't seen this person since high school. It's the same thing with Obi-Wan and Maul. It's like this grudge that goes way, way back. So, when Maul does his thing, the first thing Obi-Wan does is he does his, sort of his kid self. He turns into Ewan McGregor for a second, and then takes a breath and goes, oh, no, that was the mistake. That's the guy that fought in the war. We learned that was not the way to go. Mistakes were made back then. I'm actually Ben Kenobi, and he goes to the Alec Guinness pose. And then he's like, see if I can play the same trick on Maul. And then he assumes the Qui-Gon Jinn pose, thus cueing Maul up, who's still 14-year-old high school guy, bully, whatever, cues Maul up to try the same move that he tried on Qui-Gon. I mean, it's a very interesting interplay between the two. You're like, move, counter move, psychological game. And it all has to do with a huge misunderstanding on the part of Maul. He does not get what he's looking at. He doesn't understand it until he gets hit by the lightsaber. Then he's like, because he sees this guy and he's like, he's a old desert rat. He's nothing, and it's time to end this finally. There were many times I could have ended it. There were times where I tried to end it but didn't. There are times I've hurt this person, and there are times that he's hurt me. But it's time to put this away, because this was when I was cut in half. This was the last time. It's the last time that life made sense, and ever since then, it's been spiraling out of control in this weird cycle. of rises and falls in this guy's life. So finally, he sees this pathetic creature in the middle of the desert and says, "It's time to finish this, and in a weird way, move on with my life. This is the hope that I have, that I can put myself together, and I'm going to kill this guy and move on." And he completely misreads it. And the moment the lightsaber hits him, he goes, "Oh, this is not a desert rat. This is a Jedi Master. He's not even he's a Jedi Master on guard duty. And if he's this good, this is the most important guard post in the galaxy." And he puts it together. He's like, I understand how you survived. I understand what you're doing out here. I even understand partially who or what you are guarding." And then he maybe misses the point. Finally, he's going to revenge us. So close, close.
And that just to put a little.
So even with that and that partial discussion on that Rebels scene right there, yeah, like, what are your guys' thoughts on that? Like, back and forth. I love that perspective, that inside of the mind of Kenobi there. It's cool that you guys haven't seen that. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
I thought it was great. I haven't heard that before, so that was super interesting. I really like that idea of, when he is confronted with the past, he has to revert to his past self and then try to actively remember, like, how to be the older, wiser version of himself to handle it in a way that's actually good.
Yeah, and in this, even Charlie right here, well said. Yeah, I mean, none of us said it. That was all Sam Witwer. but yeah, from form 3, Obi's form, then to 1, and then to 4 for Qui-Gon. It's like, it's so cool just to see that progression. There's so much in that scene as well. That's very interesting. But yeah, I love that analogy, even of the high school bully. All this unresolved stuff comes to the surface right then. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool way to think about it. What about you, Blue?
I completely agree. I love it. I sort of knew the bit about Maul living in the past because I watched HFP's Kenobi's review, and he does the little flashback bit where Maul goes like that. He shows Qui-Gon, and I was like, "Ooh!" And then it all clicked. But no, I've never seen that. That was fantastic.
Yeah, and Sam Witwer, I mean, has tons and tons and tons of great stuff. For real. Super fantastic. And yeah, loved it all. Rewatched that scene many times. To me, that's probably my favorite scene in all of Rebels.
Ooh, that's my second favorite scene.
My first
one's the Darksaber training.
Same.
When Sabine loses it and just blurts out everything about her past. That's my favorite scene. That made me tear up a little bit.
Dude, that is a good one. Yeah, that is a really good one there. What are, if you had to, and I know we can't necessarily do a top list right off the top of our head, but if you think of, if we could boil it down to maybe one of the most definitive moments in Obi's life, like what comes to mind if you're thinking about like a moment that made Obi-Wan?
I've got two.
Okay.
One is the start of the duel with Anakin on Mustafar, where he goes, "What I will do what I must." Like everything Qui-Gon taught him, just like in my mind, floods into his head right then. It's like, okay, I understand what he means now. And two scenes with Satine, one where she dies, and the one where she's being held captive, and he admits that he would have left the Jedi Order, because that just defines that Obi-Wan is a Jedi. That even though he loves this woman so much, he puts it aside.
Yeah, I think those are two fantastic choices, especially seeing how, I guess, for lack of a better term, committed or serious he was about the Jedi Order, to know he would have just left it and tossed it all aside for her, for love, for attachments. That's wild, man.
Yeah, he's basically doing what Anakin was theoretically supposed to do by the Jedi rules. So it's interesting to see the difference between how him and Anakin went about doing everything.
Yeah, and that is true. And I would love to circle back to that thought in a moment, just contrasting like how him and Anakin did things. But deep dive, I know it's a tough question, but what are maybe some defining moments in his life?
I think actually the biggest one for me is in A New Hope, like right before he dies. Because when he's fighting, like if you watch when he's fighting Vader, you kind of almost get that feeling Sam Witwer was talking about with Maul, like, that past trauma boiling up, and like mentally he's a young man angry back on Mustafar fighting for his life. And you can just see that trigger in him, and he's fighting Vader. And if you watch the fight, like he's actually fighting Vader and going pretty hard at it. And then when Luke runs by, you just see him look at Luke, remember what he's doing, calm down. He smiles at Vader, and then he just becomes a distraction to let Luke escape. And that's like when it finally clicks for him, like he did his mission and he's figured everything out and he's going to go be a Force ghost.
That's good, man.
That's too good.
Oh, that's good.
That's my favorite scene in The New Hope, is that little smile.
Yeah,
where
same.
he turns back.
Yeah, and I was even thinking of when in the Phantom Menace, if I can say it correctly, when you get it's a very different look, but I was thinking of Anakin's smirk, Anakin's smile towards Obi-Wan, especially at the end. I think there's the there's the scene at the victory celebration. He looks to him, he kind of gives him that smirk, and then there's also at the pyre funeral for Qui-Gon, when Anakin like looks up at him. It's like we see where Anakin, it seems like very, maybe not celebratory, but kind of like, yeah, we did something big, at the victory celebration, and Obi-Wan definitely seems reserved in processing. And then to see him staring at his master, his body being burned, and to see the way Anakin looks at him and stuff like that. That to me, it's like, I wonder how many, especially with Anakin as a young boy, I wonder how many times he must have looked at him and, went from a pathetic life form to slowly loving him, yeah, it's interesting.
There are lots of really great books, both about Obi-Wan training Anakin and also Qui-Gon training Obi-Wan. Those books are some of my favorite in all the expanded universe stuff.
Awesome. I'm trying to remember do you remember off the top of your head what the name of the ones with Qui-Gon and Anakin are, or Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan?
I think it's called Jedi Apprentice. I'll look it up real quick.
I think you're right. I think you're right on.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. Yeah,
Did
I remembered.
We made a video of it, but I was looking at all sorts of stuff because I'm very interested in that era with Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, and I was looking at books and I saw like collection of all the books. I'm like, if I get it, I want to get all of it and read through it. And anyway, I ended up getting comics that were just for like whatever, but there's some strange stuff. But at the beginning of one of the comics, there's a really great like interchange between Qui-Gon and basically saying my paraphrase is, he's willing to do things that would not be seen as appropriate, maybe even legal or ethical in the eyes of some, so that he could stop something worse from happening, where Obi-Wan was really wrestling with that. Like, I don't understand how you could do something that's evil or deplorable or something that is like we're not supposed to do as the peacekeepers. It's like very like rigid by the book. Where Qui-Gon, I don't want to say he had like a gray ethic, but
more flexible.
Yeah, for sure. That's a great way to say it. Like Charlie here says, yeah, the promise made to Qui-Gon in episode 1, most defining moment for you, and Ben Kenobi's first appearance saving Luke from the Tuskens. I have spoken.
Dave, the sound that Obi-Wan makes to scare away the Tusken Raiders has changed like 3 or 4 times in the different editions. So.
And that scene, even like there's the rock in front of R2, then there's not the rock in front of R2, and there's so much. Mrs. here says, I think the moment he takes on Anakin in The Phantom Menace, his life has changed forever and he's forced to grow up real quick. Yeah, that's true. He does have to take on a whole new challenge. Yeah, and then Qui-Gon's death and his love interest. I mean, his death, we can't even avoid his death as a defining moment in his life for sure. Qui-Gon's there's no way around that at all. So let's circle back, deep dive. I love you just said something, just kind of a little turn of phrase, but just about the differences between how Anakin approached situations and how Obi-Wan approached situations. And so I don't know, like let's just kind of like freeform talk on that. I think that's a very fascinating topic because obviously we have like how Qui-Gon and how Obi-Wan interact, but we see a lot more of Anakin and Obi-Wan, especially live action cartoons and things like that.
I feel almost like both of them are pretty bold and reckless, but Obi-Wan is like bold and reckless within the rules, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, I think it totally makes sense. And I think that's, I mean, for you and I think that's why we share Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan in Attack of the Clones as our favorite, because I see that same tenacity where it's like that bold and reckless, but within the confines of the Jedi Order and established rules.
Mm-hmm.
Like how he keeps taking it right to the edge to figure out what it is. And like one of my favorite scenes with them even is when they tell him to bring Django in, and it's just so casual, like, yeah, there's this bounty hunter, just capture him and bring him in. He's like, yeah, okay, sure. Like no second thought, and he just like walks in like he owns the place. And that to me is just so fascinating.
Yeah, he's always in control, even when he's completely out of control.
Best
Absolutely.
example of that is when Maul kills Qui-Gon. He like focuses his anger, and that's why I have my favorite fight scene, even more than Anakin versus Obi-Wan. Just that short little beginning sequence between Maul and Obi-Wan. He did a stiff trick.
Yeah.
Focused his rage.
Dude, totally.
I've heard
that's the difference. Anakin doesn't focus his rage. He just kind of just lets it out every so often.
True.
But Obi-Wan has, as you said, complete control at times. And it's quite scary how much control he has.
Yeah, Obi-Wan can get angry, but he uses his anger. He doesn't just kind of lash out at everyone like Anakin does.
Yeah, it definitely feels very controlled and calculated. And it's like he knows exactly what he's doing. And one thing that I think is, I don't know, I guess really really interesting to me, like when I'm thinking about Obi-Wan in Attack of the Clones, and it's just so interesting to me, even when it comes down to like this whole detective mindset, him sneaking around, finding these things out. But then I don't know if I would say I love, maybe that's just a strong word, but for lack of a better term, I love how you see when him and Anakin are fighting Dooku. You see, he kind of gets bested and he gets those 2 hits on his arm and his leg, and Anakin gets his arm cut off, and then you have just that final little bout there before Yoda comes in and all of that. But I found it interesting when that fight is returned in Revenge of the Sith, and it's a 2 again against Dooku. I always found it interesting how quickly Obi-Wan got taken out. Like, I know it's an Anakin-centric movie, but I always just found that interesting. It was just kind of the way he got tossed and something fell on him. Yeah, I mean, what do you guys think about that? Does that, I don't know, if bother you at all, or is that just kind of like, does it make sense in the narrative of things?
The plot demands.
I know.
That's all I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
George
I'd
says
like to
Obi-Wan
see
has
more
to
of
go.
Obi-Wan fighting.
Mm-hmm.
But I liked how he got took out, though. He had to drop something heavy on him. That was about it. But I'd like seeing a bit more.
Yeah, I think you could think of it as like Jedi, Obi-Wan, and Anakin in episode 2 are no match for Dooku. And then in episode 3, Jedi, Obi-Wan, and Anakin are still both no match for Dooku. But Anakin has gotten kind of stronger than Obi-Wan, at least for fighting. And then the Sith, like Vader Anakin, is stronger than Dooku, and that's how he takes him out.
Mm. Yeah, that's actually a pretty cool distinction there. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Oh, I was like, yeah, before you ask, yes, I'm the same Phantom Zero. I helped you in the Star Wars game. Oh, very cool. Yeah, I always need a bunch of help in the Star Wars games. Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, well, for all intents and purposes, when you think about like Obi-Wan Kenobi in the Clone Wars, I found it, I don't know, super interesting the last time I watched Attack of the Clones, because I noticed for the first time, like, it's something that I always knew, but I just noticed, I'm like, they didn't have like military commander training, and the way that they are just thrown into all of a sudden being generals and they have to command troops, and it's totally different than, especially for Obi-Wan, the way he operated to then all of a sudden being this general in charge of troops. What are, even kind of thinking about that, how, I guess generally, how do you guys think Obi-Wan did in the Clone Wars? And then maybe what are some of your favorite moments from Clone Wars as well?
It's definitely interesting how Anakin had a much stronger connection with his clones than Obi-Wan ever did with his. Like, Obi-Wan and Cody are kind of friends, but not nearly at the level of like Anakin and Rex or the other clones. Like, Obi-Wan is always much more, he's reserved and by the book and just kind of leads by example rather than getting in the thick of it with everyone all the time.
Yeah,
I agree.
yeah, and I even see Phantom here says, yeah, that's what got a lot of clones killed. Yeah, I would agree. Yeah. So what would you guys say? Maybe and it's hard because there's so many moments. But what would you say your favorite Obi moments from the Clone Wars are?
When he
That's
goes
such a
undercover
hard
as a
one.
bounty hunter.
Oh, the bounty hunter one.
that arc was fantastic because it was like Obi-Wan, complete opposite of what Obi-Wan is, and to see him try and fill that role was funny.
The bounty hunter part is actually a great example of what we were talking about earlier about like what things Obi-Wan could have done to prevent Anakin from going to the dark side. Like in the bounty hunter arc in Clone Wars, Obi-Wan is so much following counsel that he doesn't include Anakin in any of it. and just totally freaks Anakin out by basically keeping him out of the loop of the secret mission.
Yeah, and it's, if I'm remembering right, it's been a while since I've seen that. That's an arc where Anakin's really bothered that he was out of the loop, right?
Yeah, he gets really mad at Obi-Wan at the end because he's like, "How many of the lies I've been told by the Council?"
Mm-hmm.
I love it. Because Dooku even taunts him, and he's like, "You're a worthy opponent, Master Kenobi. Can't say the same for your Padawan."
Yeah. This is good. Yeah, when he tricked that separatist general by stalling, his tea time etiquette was something to marvel at.
That's me. That's how I distract my enemies. Do you want a cup of tea, son?
Is that
negotiations?
Is that the movie?
That might be the movie. I forget.
That was the movie.
It
Yeah.
was.
Oh, but that's like you were talking about. You see such a serious Anakin or Obi-Wan. I'm just gonna speak in all over the place. You see such a serious Obi-Wan in Attack of the Clones, and then the Clone Wars starts. You know, you would think it'd be super traumatic, and then he's all just like kind of like sassy and like, I'm gonna have tea with this separatist war criminal and trick him.
It's kind of interesting. It's almost like in the Phantom Menace, Obi-Wan is actually pretty casual and he makes some jokes and everything like that. And even at the end of Attack of the Clones, all through the Clone Wars and everything, it's almost like he is not actually that serious. He's just trying really hard to be serious and strict because he thinks that's what he's supposed to do. It's like he's trying to be Mace Windu, but he's actually a lot more like Anakin.
Yeah.
I agree.
And he's pretty mean in the Phantom Menace, like to
True.
Jar Jar and Anakin,
To everyone.
Snarky guy.
Yeah. But I think what I noticed is it's almost like, I don't want to say he's like trying to like impress Qui-Gon, but it's like you see Qui-Gon have that line of, you know, the ability to speak does not make you intelligent. And so I'm wondering how many other lines he's
Generational
had like
sass.
that, where he's just been like boom and sharp. And then it seems like Obi-Wan's like, oh, look at this pathetic life form, you know? And like, it's like, hey, Dad, did you see that? You know, that was pretty good. Maybe that's oversimplifying it, but that's kind of the feeling I get. And then
I like that.
it seems like he gets into his own almost in the Clone Wars. You know, if I'm thinking about, man, my favorite Obi moments in the Clone Wars, you know, the fact that you guys brought it up, man, I think I have to go with the bounty hunter little arc as well. That is fantastic. Like, it's just so cool and it's so different, and it feels totally different for anything he's done, but it also feels so right at the same time because it's his commitment to search out the truth and, you know, to like put his life on the line. And that the whole idea of how did you describe it, Deep Dive? It was like it was reckless and something else, but
reckless and bold inside the rules.
Yeah, like I
he
feel
can
like
only do it because he's undercover.
Yeah.
I love the bit where he saves all the bounty hunters. Like, even though these are bad guys, he tries to lead them to get them all out because it's his nature to help people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I think Dooku figures it out, because he's being too much like a Jedi as a bounty hunter, but trying to be a bounty hunter.
Yeah, absolutely. Charlie here says his favorite Clone Wars Obi was seeing Satine and him go about taking down Death Watch for a time. Pretty cool. And then, yeah, from a certain point of view, that's a line I like to believe was remnants of Qui-Gon's teachings. Obi-Wan subconsciously.
Totally. That's a good point.
I've never thought about it that way, but yeah, that's actually pretty cool. Well, let's do this. Go ahead.
Go on. The bit with Satine on Voyage of Temptation, where they're just debating, and you actually see Obi-Wan get a bit angry. Like, what is it? What's the line now? The sarcasm of a soldier and the delusion of a dreamer. When he said that, I was like, Obi-Wan, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Why are you getting like this?
Mm-hmm. Dude, totally. Well, let's do this for the final few minutes. I had planned on this one being a shorter one tonight, as it was. I've been saving this one little cool thing to show you guys about Obi-Wan. Pretty obscure, but it's a lot of fun. But do you guys have like just maybe a final thought each? I know it's a very vague general topic, but just on Obi-Wan in general. Yeah, just kind of like a final thought, and then I want to show you guys something pretty cool.
Deep dive, do you want to go first?
I'm trying to think. I guess you could say, I'm trying to think if this is wrong. If it's wrong, someone write in the comments an example to disprove it. But it's possible that Obi-Wan is one of the characters who changes the most from Phantom Menace to Return of the Jedi, just in terms of like personality and how he behaves and thinks and everything like that. Like Anakin goes dark and comes back, but Obi-Wan, he matures so much in each movie as he goes along. It's really great to see. It's super interesting.
Yeah, I totally see that. It's almost like he develops and matures in the right direction. You know, where
Right.
from the time you see him in the Phantom Menace to, I mean, really in New Hope, but then even Episode 6, Return of the Jedi, it's like he keeps progressing towards not only being a Jedi Master and being a true Jedi, but I think honoring Qui-Gon too, and being a master of the Force. I see that. Absolutely. What about you, Blue?
Where to begin?
I know.
Well, my main thing I always loved about Obi-Wan is his ability to control his emotions. Because you see it in Episode 1, in the fight, as I pointed out. But you really see it in the Clone Wars show when Satine dies. After that, even in Season 7, you can just see his cold-hearted distance now. He's still Obi-Wan, but there is a part of him missing, and that's what I loved about him in Clone Wars. You can see after she dies, it's sort of like, balls, what do I do?
That's it, yeah. You get to see him struggle with it and overcome it, unlike Anakin, who just kind of struggles with it forever.
And I like that he's not got plot armor. He gets fooled and gets in line with the war. He's all for it. Like, oh, the Chancellor needs rescuing, but oh, what about Maul on Mandalore? No, Chancellor's more important. Like, he's missing the bigger picture.
Mm-hmm.
And that just shows him. So it's not Palpatine's dream, but just the brilliance of that man, even though I hate him.
This is pretty good right here. Obi-Wan is like the oak. Yeah, for sure. As time goes on, get stronger and stronger. All right, let me show you guys this. Finally found it. Had to send it from my phone. All this. This is something that I find super fascinating. We're gonna do some cool stuff with this coming up pretty soon. Kind of reviewing this. So this right here, this is Obi-Wan Kenobi on a like rocket launcher motorcycle. This is a Chinese adaptation of A New Hope.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's.
Oh god, you heard the Chinese dub versions for Episode 3.
I know. Yeah. So
that's so painful.
So I can't remember the exact phrase in Mandarin that they use to describe this, but basically during like the Cultural Revolution, people would watch movies, artists, and they would create these little comic books to show, I guess kind of an underground market for these movies. So there's an underground market for New Hope. I think it was in 1980, if I remember right. But yeah, so this I just found this super fascinating right here. There's a whole bunch of other stuff. Would you guys want to see the other stuff? I mean, some of it's Obi related, but
yeah,
could
my
look at
Chinese
that.
isn't good enough to read it, unfortunately.
Same.
What's nice is the guy did this. So this says Luke is asking, so it says like right here, it's obviously in sequence, but I don't know who she is. I think she is, so it's talking about Leia. So after an image of Leia disappears, Luke asks in astonishment, she called you a general and said that you both serve the Republic. Are you? Kenobi says, I am a Jedi Knight, just like your father. We were both old guards of the Republic, sworn to protect and serve. So it's not like a perfect, perfect thing there, but it's pretty cool. But I found there's some really interesting stuff. Like obviously, like this is like Kenobi's home, like super sci-fi,
Wow.
space futuristic, which it's like absolutely not. Here's like him and Luke, after the Tusken Raiders, which even the Tusken Raiders, these are the Raiders right here.
Oh wow, they took a lot of creative license with the comics.
Yeah, absolutely. Like here's that scene where he's guarding his life. It's almost like an Aztec warrior is what it looks like. But the most fascinating, I'll see if it's the very first one. Oh, might be. And then there's dinosaurs. The most fascinating might be at the very beginning. Let me go back and see if it's at the first. If it's here, awesome. Yeah, that's Leia. Leia's appearance changes like throughout the whole thing as well. It's pretty fascinating.
Oh.
And then all
Is
of
that
the
Boba Fett?
all of the stormtroopers look like Boba Fett, which I don't really understand. I don't know if they saw like Empire and A New Hope.
That's so good. You should show that to Strike. He'll get so mad.
Because it's like, yeah, so see, it's like it's Boba, but it's actually stormtroopers. Like there's like you can see like Boba and
Wow.
Boba, and then kind of like a Bosk looking alien. But yeah, these are all supposed to be like stormtroopers. But there's one I really wish I could find it. I think it's later. There's like 6 parts to this, and this guy's blog is like super slow. This is Leia, by the way. That's the hologram right there. That's the hologram of Leia. But oh, here it is. Perfect. Okay, I see the picture we want to see. Just waiting for it to load now. My favorite part of this whole thing, and we'll end on this, is little thing. Obviously, here's like a very I don't. It almost looks almost more Japanese than Chinese, just kind of the decor. But yeah, this is when he's igniting the lightsaber. This is my favorite right here. Darth Vader on a
He's a pet
Triceratops.
dinosaur.
Yeah, pretty wild stuff. But yeah, it's just cool, and that even gets into a whole nother cultural discussion, on how Star Wars just kind of transcends, all of this in culture, and it's still found a
modern
way.
mythology.
Yeah, it's pretty fascinating. But yeah, we hit the hour, and we were just going to go an hour today, just to kind of just chill and chat about Obi-Wan and his life. I think Blue's phone died, like just right at the end, or like Charlie, his brain exploded and he had to peace out, just because of all the awesomeness of this Boba Fett stormtrooper. Oh yeah, my StreamYard crashed. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, for sure, man. It was great. But what I'm gonna do just to close it, I'm gonna roll the Kenobi intro that we had, And yeah, I'll thank you after deep dive. But this has been great, everybody. This has been the life and lore of Obi-Wan Kenobi parts 1 and 2, and may the Force be with you always.